What if you were called a trespasser at the gates of your own mansion? What if silence was your only weapon, and the world mistook it for weakness, until the truth spoke louder than any voice? The sun hung low, bleeding orange across the skyline as Carter approached the towering black iron gates of the mansion he had built through years of relentless work, his figure humble in a gray tank top faded with the word humanity and jeans that bore the wear of countless days. And though he walked with the calm of a man certain of his ground, the world waiting for him did not see ownership in his step, but instead assumed intrusion. For a woman in a pristine white dress stood poised at the entrance, her heels tapping against stone like impatient drums, her gaze sharpened with the authority of someone used to commanding spaces she believed belonged to people like her. And with a voice dripping with disdain, she declared, "Step back, sir, you don't live here." Her words slicing through the evening air as 3 guards tightened their formation around her, one hand already gripping a pair of cuffs as though Carter's very presence at the gate demanded punishment. And across the street the onlookers multiplied, neighbors leaning over balconies, delivery riders pausing their routes, joggers halting mid-stride, and clusters of teens lifting their phones for live streams, their lenses hungry to capture what they thought would be the familiar spectacle of a man out of place, humiliated and turned away. Yet Carter stood silent, his eyes steady, his lips unparted, for silence was his chosen armor, a shield he had carried through a lifetime where calm had been mistaken for weakness, where dignity had been confused for passivity. And the woman pressed on, sneering, "Do you think money got you here, dressed like that? You belong nowhere near this place." While one of the guards echoed with authority, "Sir, this is private property, step back immediately." But Carter only lifted his hand to the scanner embedded in the gate, a motion so unassuming yet so deliberate that it drew every gaze, and the scanner flickered red before shifting unmistakably to green as a smooth mechanical voice announced, "Welcome home, Mr. Carter." And in that moment the street froze, breaths caught, the crowd gasped, live streamers repeated aloud, "It said welcome home," disbelief wrestling with the evidence their own ears provided. But the woman lashed back desperately, "That's fake, a trick. Anyone could hack a system like that." Though even as she spoke, her tone betrayed the cracks in her certainty. But Carter remained still, his eyes unreadable, for he had lived echoes of this confrontation too many times before, at dealerships where keys to the cheapest cars were shoved at him while luxury models were shielded, at apartment lobbies where doormen eyed him like a stranger trespassing, at boardrooms where his ideas were dismissed until repackaged by another voice. And though the players changed, the script rarely did. Yet today that script would burn, because as one guard muttered about verification and reached to shove him back, his hand brushed Carter's shoulder and immediately the mansion system thundered, "Warning, unauthorized physical contact with property owner," the words resonating with such finality that the guard's cuffs jammed uselessly, his radio hissed with static, his badge flashed red, and the crowd erupted in astounded gasps, phones zooming closer to capture the guard's faltering composure, while the woman in white's confidence crumbled, her lips trembling though she forced the words out, "He's a fraud, a thief. A man dressed like that cannot own this place." But already the tide was turning as voices from the crowd rose in contradiction, a neighbor in a red blouse calling out, "That's Mr. Carter, I see him jogging here every morning." Another adding, "He's lived here for years." Their affirmations weaving into a chorus, the whispers swelling into chants, "Profiling, discrimination, let him in." And livestream feeds exploded with outrage, comments scrolling like wildfire across countless screens. And finally, Carter's voice broke the silence, deep, steady, and resonant, not loud, yet carrying like thunder over stone. "You called me a trespasser at my own gates. You tried to erase me from what I built. But clothes don't make the owner, the deed does, and mine has my name etched on every line." And as the house itself bowed to his words, the massive gates groaned open, lights spilling across the driveway in a golden path of vindication, and the voice of the estate echoed once more, "Owner profile confirmed. Welcome home, Mr. Carter." And he stepped forward, each footfall steady as the guards stood powerless, the woman shrinking into herself, her earlier venom drained to ash, while the crowd erupted, their cheers no longer whispers of doubt, but roars of justice, their phones raised high to beam the scene across the world. Yet Carter did not gloat, did not turn back, did not raise his arms in triumph, for he had no need to, because true power never begs to be recognized, it simply is. And as he crossed into the embrace of his home, the gates closing behind him with a resonant finality, he carried with him not only his own dignity restored, but the unspoken weight of every untold story where silence had been misjudged, where humanity had been measured by fabric rather than character. And as the mansion lights wrapped him in gold and the outside world erupted into hashtags, debates, and endless commentary, Carter needed none of it, for justice had already spoken, in the language of truth, ownership, and quiet, unshakable strength.